The highs and lows of world rallying. Weeks after a solid and unexpected first-up class win with his new team, this was how Michael Guest's second event ended. A collapsed wheel sending him into a tree at almost 100 kilometres an hour.
It's one of those accidents where I had a bit of time to see what we were going to hit, which is it's not always the best way to do it. And there was quite a big tree looming, and luckily we sort of just caught it on the corner and spun off the tree, so we didn't stop dead still.
Neither Guest's body or confidence sustained any real damage, and he says he's enjoying a great working relationship with his Hyundai team. Guest will now also enjoy a brief break before heading back to Europe at the end of next month for testing and the Acropolis Rally through the hills of Greece.
The whole plan for the three events in the Formula 2 car was Greece would be the one where I would try and make a bit of a mark. We've already one win up, so I guess we'll try and do the same thing there.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
Just 20 minutes before this horrific accident last July, the driver of the stolen black Honda Prelude suggested to his two friends it would be safer if he got behind the wheel. Unfortunately, it wasn't. The two male passengers died instantly when the car veered onto the wrong side of the Pacific Highway north of Bulahdelah and into the path of a semi-trailer. Earlier this year, 23-year-old Paul Drummond pleaded guilty to 2 charges of dangerous driving occasioning death. Today in Newcastle District Court, he gave evidence before Judge Coulihan, agreeing fatigue may have contributed to his falling asleep at the wheel. He also admitted to being a regular amphetamine user but said he was not on speed at the time of the accident. But whilst giving evidence, he expressed remorse at the incident, saying he was pretty sorry for what had happened. I have to forgive myself, also adding I will have to live with it for the rest of my life and will have to change my ways. Drummond will be sentenced later this month. Helen Kapelos, NBN News. When you think of heritage, you may picture something like this, but believe it or not, it's industrial eyesores like these which have made their way onto the Heritage Council's preservation list. And BHP is less than impressed, today meeting with officials in an effort to convince them there are some items of history the region can do without.
We won't be able to preserve it all, we know that, but we're quite confident that we'll find a way that the heritage and the container terminal, whatever it is they're wanting to do, can work hand in hand.
BHP have declined to comment on camera today, but a spokesperson says they're hoping today's meeting will convince the Heritage Council just how serious they are about removing some of the so-called heritage items to make way for a multi-purpose shipping terminal, a project which could create up to 350 permanent jobs. BHP says there are more than 13 buildings on the site that would have to be demolished to make way for the terminal, items still on the Heritage Council list. But for the moment at least, the Heritage Council claims the terminal project is one they won't impede.
We want the site to be redeveloped and to take advantage of its deep water frontage. That's an important part of its heritage also. So we have absolutely no intention or desire to frustrate anything.
Helen Kapelos, NBN News.
That's the story, that's what's going to be put on the record. Well, I feel the post like the story, I'll meet you soon. Okay, thanks for your help. See you later. Okay.
I have that number, sorry. That's fine. Yeah, I really want to get back to the cars and bring them with me.
And we are very concerned for his welfare because it is so much out of character for him. He's apparently a dedicated family man. He's got 2 young girls and his family is missing him.
Wollongong may have topped the list as the worst area for graffiti in the state, but Newcastle isn't that far behind. The Bureau of Crime Statistics recorded 289 reported instances of graffiti in the city last year. Not at all surprising, says Newcastle Lord Mayor John Tate.
Newcastle Council has taken some initiatives to cope with that. We have a graffiti team already up and running and have had for some months. There is a second one proposed with new equipment, and I think that'll have a big impact in the city as far as graffiti is concerned.
Councillor Tate says he supports the Premier's Get Tough approach on so-called graffiti artists.
What we really need to do is create an attitude amongst people that graffiti is not acceptable, and I think it's quite appropriate for people who are caught graffitiing at least pay the penalty of have to clean it off.
Under the plan, 4 rail corridors in the Parramatta, Richmond, Illawarra and Bankstown areas are set to be cleaned up. But seeing its proximity to the top of the list, Councillor Tate says Newcastle rail line should be included.
Newcastle rail corridor is not included in that. It would be good if we could get some more assistance, because obviously the Olympics are coming. We'll get visitors to the Newcastle and Lower Hunter area, and we want to make this place look as good as what Sydney's going to look.
The Lake Macquarie area was rated as 8th on the list. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
But after getting a medical clearance on his foot injury, Melmoth will now suit up for the State Premier League club. Shooting hoops on the court where it all started for the 24-year-old, Melmoth has eyes on an Olympic spot. After another injury-ruined season, it was thought the powerful forward's chance for Sydney 2000 was gone. But with a selection camp in May, his dream is still very much alive. The Hunters play Maitland tomorrow night. The first round of the Newcastle Rugby League kicks off tomorrow, and rain has already washed out one game, with Waratah Macquarie game called off. However, the grand final replay at Cessnock will go ahead. At Maitland, it's a local derby with the Bulldogs. There are 2 more games on Sunday. In NBN Soccer, tomorrow's game at Maitland is off, while on Sunday, Highfields, Western, the Rosebuds, Edgeworth and the Gunners are all at home.
Despite weeks of threatening weather, cyclists have been largely met with sunshine and support throughout most of their epic journey.
We're hoping to raise $250,000 for the MS Society of New South Wales this year on the RTA Big Ride.
So far, the team of more than 1,300 riders has managed to raise close to $70,000, and sponsorship money will keep coming in until late June. It's the first time the RTA has organised a big ride to last 16 days. The trip will have covered more than 1,100 kilometres, with riders of all ages supporting the charity event.
Average age of the RTA Big Rider is 40, but as you say, we've got 3-year-olds through to 79-year-olds, mainly coming from New South Wales, but also right throughout Australia.
And although riders are covering an average of 75 kilometres a day, it seems not to have proven too great a task for any. In fact, they seem to be enjoying the marathon fundraiser, even though they have to pack up and then relocate every day.
I think it's a good cause, and they do raise a lot of money for MS, and somebody's got to do it, so yeah, it's good.
But it's not quite over yet. Cyclists set off again tomorrow for the final leg of their journey to Hornsby, a leg most riders aren't so enthusiastic about.
There's a couple big hills, they tell us. To get up to Hornsby, it's not going to be the easiest, I don't think.
Adam Harper, NBN News.
This was the scene in the Myall Lakes last Easter. High levels of visible, smelly and toxic blue-green algae, and it's likely to be the case this Easter as well.
There's a high alert on at the moment for certain parts of the lake, and we're monitoring that closely to see whether that's the algal numbers are getting higher, or whether they're stable, or whether they're on decline.
As thousands of people prepare to holiday in the area, a think tank started today in a bid to find ways of solving the problem. Fisheries, national parks, waterways and land and water conservationists gathered to listen to international ecologist and algae buster Dr. Graham Harris.
I mean, in Gippsland last Easter, 12 months ago, they shut the whole of the Gippsland Dam for about 3 weeks. So there's major economic impacts on tourism, fisheries, the whole thing. These coastal lagoons are actually very valuable in terms of the revenue they generate.
Dr. Harris says the key is to reduce runoff from the land that provides the nutrients for the algae to flourish.
This isn't rocket science, it's actually a bit more difficult because it's really a community and an interagency problem. You need the best science, the best knowledge that you can, and what we've done this morning is to try and bring all the best brains together and see how the best way is to go forward.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Day 2000. 2000. But you have them there and it's lovely. And it's
The intercity passenger train was empty this morning as it was being backed into a holding yard. A short while later, 3 carriages had come off the tracks, blocking the line and almost toppling the train onto a major northbound line.
It's getting to the stage now where we're almost seeing an incident on our rail system on a daily basis. Clearly there is a real need to have a public inquiry into the whole of our train system.
Last Thursday, a similar accident happened. 5 carriages of an 8-carriage passenger train derailed in Sydney. And now Ms Chikarovsky is claiming that Transport Minister Carl Scully isn't taking the issue seriously enough.
I would have thought that Mr Scully would want to make sure that everything that could possibly be done to fix our system was done before the Olympics. What he needs to do is make sure that there is commuter confidence in our train system, and he needs to do that now.
But Mr Scully doesn't see that this most recent accident is any cause for real concern, and is no indication about the safety or quality of state rail passenger trains.
Could be looked in perspective. A minor incident in a shunting yard, human error, incorrect operation of a lever.
Ms Chikarovsky is bringing the issue to the attention of Parliament as soon as possible, hoping to encourage a public inquest. Adam Harper, NBN News.
Coronary bypass surgery may save lives, but unfortunately, it's not without its side effects. Now, a team of Newcastle-based researchers are investigating ways the brain can be affected during heart surgery.
Even in the best of hands, there is a risk of stroke associated with the operation, and the work will measure more subtle damage using this vision test.
During most bypass surgery, the heart has to be stopped, and it's at this time air bubbles can form, or small particles called emboli can break off and move through the bloodstream to the brain, causing blockages. Researchers have designed a range of visual tests to investigate the perception of form and motion in patients, an indicator of brain damage.
We assume that patients who have subtle areas of damage from small blood clots, for instance, will not detect these letters, these images as readily as those who are normal.
It's hoped the results will lead to developing new ways of protecting the brain during surgery.
We think that this new test may then provide us with a means by which we can measure whether certain interventions might actually help prevent the problems.
The researchers have recently been given a helping hand thanks to a $15,000 grant from the Australian Brain Foundation. The study will run for the next 12 to 18 months and will include around 100 patients. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
It's a good sign for the Knights. The Johns brothers, Andrew and Matthew, named back in the red and blue. But the green and gold awaits if both can impress and remain injury-free against the Sharks. The same can be said for Adam McDougall. He shone against Wendell Saylor and believes another performance against Matt Rogers should see him win his first Australian jumper.
It comes down to the fact that he's probably already secured a berth on the wing spot, and it's going to come down maybe to myself and Matt, so it's a good opportunity to really show what I've got to the selectors on Friday night.
With the Johns brothers back, Adam McDougall is on the wing and Mark Hughes moves back into the centres. Denny Badiris returns to his role as rake, while Billy Peden will be out to keep his record-winning ways as captain intact. The Lock named skipper ahead of Andrew Johns.
Joey's superstitious, so he wants Billy to stay captain. I said, right up.
And Coach Ryan is cautious. While happy with the weekend's half combination, he's still considering what options he has should Andrew pull out. Utility Sean Rudder coming into calculations after he returns from injury.
He's got very good vision and a great pass, Rudder, so I'm just, I'd be having a good look at which would be the better option there.
Two days before his 91st birthday, Wilfred Dews has been recognised for his efforts in land care. And it's the first time that Council has issued an award for service to the environment.
My big issue has been tree planting. I've planted 3,000 trees and germinated most of those myself.
But his approach hasn't been to force his greenways onto others. He's actually been more of a quiet achiever until he was recently recognised with the Premier's Award for service to the environment.
Never want to throw myself under a bulldozer or chain myself to a tree. I thought that the best way for conservation is through education, example and encouragement.
Mr. Dews has been actively supporting various land care groups for many years, even starting a few himself. But his passion for the green came while he was still at school.
The teacher knew he couldn't teach me anything about sums or clock. He used to send me in the garden. That was about 1918.
Ever since his garden experience, Wilfred has been a big supporter of the environment, and despite his age, plans to keep on planting. Adam Harper, NBN News.
As many as 500 people packed the Wanji Workers Club last night, condemning plans for a 22 megawatt generator to be established in the building which once housed the Wanji power station.
The clear message was that the waste management system is not going to be on Wanji power station site. The residents do not want it.
Many of the people living near the landmark have researched the proposal for a $35 million plant burning green waste trucked in from Sydney.
I'm also very concerned that there's a potential that we're going to just get rid of some of the waste from Sydney, and that disappoints me also, that we may be just being used here.
The proposal by Energy Equipment Australia has shocked the local community, who'd hoped a more environmentally friendly use could be found for the old station.
I was very disappointed. We had seen some proposals to put some very good development there for residential and commercial use of the site, and to revert back to a power station, I've got to say, that disappointed me greatly.
With the sulphide, and we've got the power stations, we don't need any more contaminants in the air around Lake Macquarie, and we certainly don't need anything else on the foreshore of Lake Macquarie that resembles industry.
Lake Macquarie Council is now considering the company's development application. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Last month, the state government described a 3-year $2.1 billion cash injection for the health system as a first. Health Minister Craig Knowles even made a special trip to the Hunter to deliver the news, assuring health officials it represented a boost in real funding dollars. But the Australian Medical Association says the real figure is much lower, closer to $105 million, 5% of the original promise, and Hunter residents will feel the pinch.
The sad truth is that there's not going to be the amount of money that is needed to get up to reasonable services, or services that were going a few years ago.
Researchers in the Hunter will be hoping the state government holds true to its promise of additional funding for medical research, a $2.85 million funding boost over a 3-year period.
It will allow the employment of quite a large number of people within the medical research community. They in turn bring their families, they make the area more attractive by bringing their expertise for other people to move in, allowing other industries to come in too.
It's estimated 300 researchers have already brought more than $12 million to the Hunter, with some projects enjoying international recognition. The funding is the first step towards plans to construct a new $15 million institute at the John Hunter Hospital.
The fact that we've been successful in attracting all of this will make it perhaps easier to convince other people that there is something really worthwhile investing in the Hunter.
Whangatara residents will agree it's hard to miss the Leader project. The multi-million-dollar development which occupies the former Brad Mill site is still under construction. Builders fast erecting 2 new home hardware stores and now a Burger King. But even though the development application has been approved, last night councillors considered a new amendment in the plans which may prove an 11th-hour rescue package to alleviate the current traffic nightmare.
The road now has been relegated to a 2-lane through road. There are no footpaths along most of the route. There are the bus inserts have been taken out, and it's very much a minor road.
Councillors have now agreed to defer the plans, hoping the Roads and Traffic Authority will revisit the site and prevent some of the congestion the development is expected to create.
The bonus would be, of course, that they would look at the issue again and we would end up with what the community expectations were originally.
Helen Kapalos, NBN News. When it comes to the use of mobile phones, Australians are leading the way. But unfortunately, research has yet to determine just what effect radiation has on one's health. And that's precisely why former Air Force pilot David Prinzhorn has come up with an invention to counter its possibly harmful effects.
When I was told that the frequency was right up in the microwave frequency band, I became quite concerned.
Believe it or not, Australian researchers have proved this silicon-based material, which is attached to the phone antenna, can absorb up to 75% of radiation from mobiles. And even though there are no guarantees it will prevent adverse health effects, its inventors are so confident in the device they're hoping it will be available worldwide.
We've been working on this for 3.5 years, and it's taken 3.5 years to get it to the stage it is now. And all I can say is the proof is in the testing.
Helen Kapalos, NBN News.
A cross-country event will be raced tomorrow at the Killingworth track, while on Sunday it's another round of the State Downhill Championship at Mount Sugarloaf. After heavy rain in recent weeks, race organisers have made some changes to the new track, which will be in use for only the second time this weekend. Just a bit more horsepower will be on show at Newcastle Speedway, with the solos on show along with the popular sidecars. It's been some time since bikes have featured at Tomago and will give competitors the perfect hit-out before the national titles. Round 7 in NBN Soccer League action and the Toronto-Adamstown clash set down for Sunday will be played tonight. Wallsend play Cessnock tomorrow, while the Swans host Western. The Gunners line up Maitland and Broadmeadow take on Highfields. The match of the round will be Premiers Hamilton against league leaders Edgeworth. In Newcastle Rugby Union, it's round 3 and the Waratahs play the Wanderers. Uni is at home to the Bay. The Hawks host Singleton and Eastern Districts play Maitland in a grand final replay at Dangar Park. And Angie Charlton has helped Australia to win back the Trans-Tasman title against New Zealand. Australia won the 8 and 9 ball series 78-50.
These are the survivors of the war. They come back and become mothers and fathers and grandfathers and uncles and aunts, and it's our record of showing some respect and honouring them.